In a quiet suburb of Atlanta, Georgia, lived the Johnson family. Marcus Johnson, 32 years old, worked as a manager in a large construction company. His half-brother, 28-year-old Derek Williams, was a successful programmer at a tech firm. Both men were African American and grew up in the same house but had different fathers. Marcus was known for his sociability and charisma. Tall and athletic, he easily made friends and was popular in his circle. Derek, on the other hand, was more introverted and reserved. Short in stature, wearing glasses, he preferred to spend time at the computer, immersing himself in the world of code and technology. Despite their differences in character, the brothers had always been close. They grew up together, shared a room in childhood, and supported each other in adult life. No one could have predicted that their relationship would take an unexpected turn and lead to tragic consequences. The story of the Johnson family began when Lorraine Johnson, Marcus's mother, met James Williams, Derek's father. Lorraine was a single mother raising 4-year-old Marcus when she met James at a corporate event. James, recently widowed, had a 1-year-old son, Derek. Lorraine and James quickly grew close, finding support in each other. A year later, they married, uniting their families. Marcus and Derek became stepbrothers, but their relationship was warm and close from the beginning. In childhood, the boys were inseparable. Marcus, being older, always protected Derek from bullies at school. Derek, in turn, helped his brother with lessons, especially in math and science. Their parents were delighted with the strong bond between the children and encouraged their communication in every way. However, as they grew older, the brothers' interests began to diverge. Marcus became interested in sports, becoming the captain of the school's American football team. Derek immersed himself in the world of computers and programming, spending most of his time writing code. Despite this, they remained close, supporting each other in important moments of life. After high school, Marcus enrolled in a local college where he studied management, while Derek moved to another state to get a degree in computer science. The separation only strengthened their bond. They often called each other, exchanged messages, and eagerly awaited meetings during holidays and vacations. When both brothers finished their education and started their careers, they decided to live in the same city again. Marcus suggested Derek move to Atlanta, where he was already working in a construction company. Derek agreed, finding a job at a local tech firm. The brothers rented an apartment together, just like in the good old days. No one in their circle could have predicted that behind the facade of strong brotherly relationships lay complex feelings that would soon surface and change their lives forever. Marcus and Derek's joint living in Atlanta began quite ordinarily. They easily fit into the familiar rhythm of life, sharing household chores and supporting each other in their professional spheres. Marcus often invited friends over for parties at their apartment, while Derek preferred quiet evenings at the computer. The turning point came during Marcus's 30th birthday celebration. After a noisy party, when all the guests had left, the brothers were left alone. Under the influence of alcohol, their conversation took an unexpected turn. Marcus confessed that he had always felt more than brotherly feelings for Derek. Derek, shocked by this confession, unexpectedly reciprocated. That night became the beginning of their secret romance. Both understood that their relationship went beyond societal norms, and they carefully hid it from family and friends. They continued to lead a normal lifestyle in public but allowed themselves to express their feelings when alone. The first weeks of their romance were filled with euphoria and passion. Marcus and Derek rediscovered each other, finding new facets in what seemed to be a familiar person. They spent every free minute together, enjoying each other's company. However, difficulties soon began to arise. The need to constantly hide their relationship became a source of stress for both. Marcus, being more sociable, struggled to restrain himself from showing his feelings in public. Derek, on the contrary, became even more withdrawn, fearing that someone might guess about their connection. The situation was complicated by the fact that both continued to maintain relationships with their parents. Lorraine and James often invited their sons to family dinners, unaware of the changes in their relationship. Each such visit became a test for Marcus and Derek, forced to play the role of ordinary brothers. At work, both tried to behave as if nothing had changed, but colleagues began to notice changes. Marcus became less sociable, often declining corporate events. Derek, on the contrary, started to come out of his shell more often, which surprised his coworkers. Despite the difficulties, Marcus and Derek were determined to maintain their relationship. They dreamed of a future where they could be together openly, without fear of judgment. However, reality was far from their dreams, and tension continued to build. As time passed, Marcus and Derek's secret relationship began to have an increasing impact on their daily lives. The constant need to hide their feelings and lie to those around them became a source of serious stress for both. Marcus, who had always been the life of the party, began to distance himself from friends. He increasingly declined invitations to parties and sporting events, preferring to spend time at home with Derek. This did not go unnoticed by his colleagues and friends, who began to express concern about the changes in his behavior. Derek, in turn, became even more withdrawn at work. He was often late, distracted, and made mistakes in his code, which was completely out of character for his usually flawless work. His superiors expressed concern about his performance, which only added to Derek's stress. Tension grew at home as well. The brothers often argued about how they should behave in public. Marcus wanted to be more open in expressing his feelings, while Derek insisted on extreme caution. These disagreements led to frequent quarrels, after which both felt guilty and drained. The situation reached a critical point when their mother, Lorraine, unexpectedly came to visit them without warning. Catching her sons in a compromising situation, she was shocked and demanded explanations. This incident led to a serious conflict in the family. Lorraine was disappointed and upset, not understanding how this could have happened to her sons. After this incident, the relationship between the brothers became even more strained. They both felt guilty towards their mother and feared the possible consequences of their secret being revealed. Marcus began to abuse alcohol, trying to numb his emotions. Derek immersed himself in work, spending more and more time at the office to avoid confronting reality at home. Their father, James, noticing the strange behavior of his sons and his wife's distress, tried to intervene. He organized a family meeting, hoping to resolve the conflict, the nature of which he still didn't suspect. However, this attempt only exacerbated the situation, as neither Marcus nor Derek was ready to reveal the truth. The tension continued to build, and both brothers felt that the situation was spiraling out of control. They understood that they couldn't continue living in constant fear and lies, but they saw no way out of the situation. The emotional pressure was becoming unbearable, pushing them towards a point of no return. June 22, 2023, became a turning point in Marcus and Derek's story. The day began as usual. Marcus left for work early in the morning, while Derek stayed home, taking a day off due to a severe migraine. Around noon, Marcus unexpectedly returned home. His boss had sent him home from work, noticing that he was in a state of severe alcohol intoxication. Entering the apartment, Marcus found Derek at the computer. An argument broke out between the brothers. According to neighbors' testimonies, they heard loud voices from the Johnsons' apartment starting around 12:30. The argument, which began in raised voices, quickly escalated into a furious quarrel. Marcus accused Derek of cowardice and unwillingness to openly acknowledge their relationship. Derek, in turn, reproached Marcus for irresponsibility and selfishness. During the argument, Marcus, under the influence of alcohol, became aggressive. He grabbed a desk lamp and hit Derek on the head with it. The blow was so strong that Derek lost consciousness and fell to the floor. Realizing what had happened, Marcus panicked. Instead of calling for an ambulance, he decided to cover up the traces of the crime. He wrapped Derek's body in a carpet and carried it out of the apartment under the cover of night. Using his car, Marcus took the body to a wooded park on the outskirts of the city. In the forest, Marcus dug a shallow grave and buried his brother's body. After that, he returned home and tried to destroy all traces of the crime. He thoroughly washed the floor, got rid of the blood-stained clothes and the broken lamp. The next day, Marcus reported Derek's disappearance to the police. He said that his brother hadn't returned home after work and that he was concerned about his absence. The police began an investigation but initially found no signs of a violent disappearance. Over the next few days, Marcus tried to behave as usual. He went to work, communicated with friends and parents, expressing concern about his brother's disappearance. However, his behavior aroused suspicion among the detectives handling the case. A week after Derek's disappearance, the police received an anonymous call. The caller reported seeing Marcus carrying a suspicious bundle out of the apartment on the night of Derek's disappearance. This information became key to the investigation. Based on the information received, the police conducted a search of the brothers' apartment. Despite Marcus's attempts to cover up the traces of the crime, forensic experts found microscopic traces of blood on the carpet and under the baseboards. DNA analysis confirmed that the blood belonged to Derek. Under the pressure of evidence, Marcus broke down and confessed to killing his brother. He indicated the place where he had buried the body and gave a detailed account of the events of that day. Derek's body was exhumed, and a forensic examination confirmed that the cause of death was a traumatic brain injury. After Marcus's confession, the investigation entered an active phase. Detectives carefully examined all the circumstances of the case, striving to reconstruct a complete picture of what had happened. First, the police conducted a repeat, more thorough search of the brothers' apartment. Forensic experts used luminol to reveal traces of blood that Marcus had tried to wash away. The analysis showed the presence of a large amount of Derek's blood in a living room, confirming the version that the murder took place there. Investigators also seized both brothers' computers. Analysis of electronic correspondence and search history revealed the true nature of their relationship. Intimate messages exchanged between Marcus and Derek were discovered, as well as search queries on the topic of same-sex relationships between relatives. Interviewing neighbors provided additional details. Several residents of the building confirmed that they had heard a loud argument on the day of Derek's disappearance. One of the neighbors said she saw Marcus carrying a large bundle out of the apartment late at night, which corresponded to the anonymous call. Investigators also examined the financial records of both brothers. They discovered that a few days before the murder, Marcus had withdrawn a large sum of cash from his bank account. This could indicate that he was planning an escape. Analysis of surveillance camera records in the area confirmed Marcus's alibi at work in the morning hours of that day, but also showed him returning home in an intoxicated state around noon. The cameras also recorded his car heading towards the wooded park late at night. The forensic examination of Derek's body provided key evidence. Experts determined that death occurred from a blow to the head with a blunt object, which corresponded to Marcus's testimony about hitting him with a desk lamp. The time of death was established between 12 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, which coincided with the time of Marcus's return home. Based on the evidence collected, the prosecutor's office formally charged Marcus Johnson with second-degree murder. He was arrested and placed in custody without the right to bail, given the severity of the crime and the risk of flight. The news of Marcus's arrest and the circumstances of Derek's death shocked the public. Local media widely covered this case, drawing attention to the problems of domestic violence and hidden family relationships. Marcus and Derek's parents, Lorraine and James, were devastated by the news. They issued a brief statement asking for respect for their privacy during this difficult time. The family faced not only the loss of one son but also the prospect of a long prison sentence for the other. The trial of Marcus Johnson began on September 15, 2023, in the Fulton County Superior Court, Atlanta. The case attracted significant public and media attention, given the unusual circumstances of the crime. The prosecution presented extensive evidence gathered during the investigation. Key elements of the accusation were: forensic examination confirming the cause of Derek's death, Results of forensic analysis showing the presence of Derek's blood in the apartment. Surveillance camera recordings documenting Marcus's movements on the day of the murder. Testimonies of neighbors about the argument and Marcus's strange behavior. Electronic correspondence revealing the nature of the relationship between the brothers. The prosecutor insisted that Marcus committed the murder while intoxicated, but with a clear intention to cause serious harm. He emphasized Marcus's attempts to conceal the crime, which indicated his awareness of the gravity of his actions. The defense, in turn, did not dispute the fact of the murder but tried to mitigate Marcus's guilt. The lawyers insisted that it was an unintentional killing committed in a state of severe emotional stress. They presented evidence of Marcus's alcohol dependence and the psychological pressure he experienced due to the need to hide his relationship with Derek. As witnesses for the defense, a psychologist who assessed Marcus's mental state and several of his colleagues who characterized him as usually calm and non-aggressive testified. Marcus himself testified, expressing deep remorse for his actions. He described his relationship with Derek, explaining how fear of exposure and feelings of guilt led to alcohol abuse and emotional instability. The brothers' parents, Lorraine and James, also testified. Their testimonies were emotional and contradictory. They expressed shock and grief at the loss of Derek, but also asked for leniency for Marcus. The jury deliberated for 3 days. On September 29, 2023, they reached a verdict. Marcus Johnson was found guilty of second-degree murder. On October 2, 2023, the judge announced the sentence. Considering all the circumstances of the case, including Marcus's sincere confession and his remorse, the judge sentenced him to 20 years in prison with the possibility of parole after serving 15 years. The sentence elicited mixed reactions in society. Some considered it too lenient, given the brutality of the crime and attempts to conceal it. Others believed it adequately reflected the complex circumstances of the case and Marcus's potential for rehabilitation. After the sentencing, Marcus's lawyers stated that they would not file an appeal, respecting the court's decision and their client's desire to accept responsibility for his actions. Marcus was sent to serve his sentence in a Georgia state prison. According to prison rules, he was given the opportunity to participate in rehabilitation programs, including treatment for alcohol addiction and psychological counseling.